You live?
Really? Seriously?
Hi. Do you hear me now?
Oh,
Is it
sorry.
on? Is it on?
It's
Sid,
on.
are we on?
Are we on? Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good.
I see the little meter going now.
Yep, there it is.
That was Sinclair's idea of fun, folks. Don't write in. Don't tell me about it. So, we got a special guest tonight, Mr. Apollo. For those of you, can you, Miss Carol Ann's getting everything all spiffy and safe so the dog doesn't need an electric cord. Can you get a little shot of Mr. Apollo?
Yes, sir.
I think she was going to choreograph to do the opening shot with that young man.
There we go.
Yes.
Good boy. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Whoops.
sorry guys. We lost him.
There he goes back.
He's going back.
That-
I'm going to these guys.
That, my friends, is an Argentine doggo. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of them. And for the ones that haven't, now you can say you've seen one of them. We're gonna show you Mr. His name's Apollo. He's gonna be going through our program all the way up to Sky High Executive. How you call it? Protection, executive protection. Jason's owner said he's got a lot of high hopes. This is his first doggo. First he brought him out here, wanted to do so, and he's 7 or 8 months old, I forget which. So we brought him out here originally and he wanted to do just basic obedience, and then he watched our protection training and thought, he wanted something because, well, I can't say nothing about his personal life because there's HIPAA rules that I can't say nothing. Not really HIPAA, but
It's none of your business.
yeah, none of your business. None of it's none of your business. So then he decided he was going to do protection training with him, and the little fellow's showing promise. So then he called me back and he said, well, he'd like to. He definitely been watching YouTube because now he wants an executive protection dog. So we're going to try to do all that with him. Search and rescue. He's interested in search and rescue. I told him I did draw the line at teaching algebra. I'm not going to teach him any algebra.
You wasn't good in math in school either.
Yeah, that's just not my forte. Scott and I is weak on that. So anyway, they're a versatile dog. They're a little different. They're like the Doberman. They're a legitimately created breed that breeds true to itself. The Martinez brothers in Argentina created this breed, and their main function was to be lion hunting dogs like Rhodesian is in Africa.
Right.
So tough dogs. You can't, you can say, what? What's he up to?
He's going to get sacked.
Oh, lordy. You can say that you got shepherds and you got terriers and you got mastiffs. You can't. This is like the Doberman. Louis Doberman used all these breeds that we don't really know what they were. But the Martinez brothers used their breed. They used 7 different breeds to create this dog. And there's some mastiffs in there, there's some terriers in there, and there's some pointers in there. So you can't pick out traits that are strong in them like you would a mastiff. You can't say they're all defensive. But you can't say they're all prey driven like the fighting dog in Cordova, which is another dog they used in there. It's a terrier. So it's a rather unique dog. When they first came to this country, I actually dabbled. It's the first breed I ever thought about breeding as a breeder because they were healthy. And that's an episode for when we're doing some guard dog stories because I use several of them in the guard dog business. Anyway, we're going to show him in a minute on some other stuff. Right now we're going to talk about 2 topics that I think are very important for the average dog owner. The first thing is the difference between correction and punishment and what is the most effective type of correction. The second thing is the silent killer. There's one thing that I believe, if you've ever known anyone, or maybe you're the person who said this, there must be somebody poisoning dogs on my block because so-and-so came home and found their dog dead.
Mm-hmm.
No signs of nothing. Left him in the morning, he was healthy. Came back and he was dead. There's people automatically kindly assume that it was poison. Not so.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to delve into what I believe and why I believe it's a whole nother ball game and how to prevent that from happening to your dog. So first thing is, what do you think about corrections versus punishment, Scott? You know how to use them, where to use them, which one's which one ain't which?
Yeah, corrections usually marked behaviors.
Oh, that's the way to put it.
You know,
Yeah, marked behaviors.
no, but you go ahead and mark the behaviors, and you come back with positive reinforcement.
I like that. That's a good definition.
The punishment is just what it is.
Punishment is you piss me off, right?
Punishment is just, and you think that by punishing your dog, that'll listen better, or it won't do it again, because the dog doesn't really know until you mark its behavior. You know, I mean,
That's good stuff. Go, man, go.
you know,
Keep
so
it up.
I mean, the dog goes ahead and does something wrong, you need to correct him right then and there. You can't come back 30 minutes later and beat the shit out of him and say, why'd you do that for? Because he won't remember. He won't know.
Right.
Now, some know. They chewed your couch up, and you come in an hour later, and he's in his crate looking at you going, shit. You know.
Right.
But positive reinforcement is the way to go. Everybody used to believe it's a new thing. Now, it's not a new thing, but it's more widespread with dog trainers, I think. Than There used to be punishment, negative behavior equals negative reaction. Now it's negative to a negative to a positive behavior.
Right.
So I think the dogs learn better and react a lot better to
Yeah.
that, and you can get into their psyche too, punishing a dog, because dogs don't forget. But
Right.
you're hitting the dog and no, pop, 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 you know. I mean, literally the dog's gonna go hide from you. You know?
Yep.
Or raising your voice. I don't want that in my house. My dogs, I don't yell at them. And I don't want my kids yelling. I get on my kids, and my boy goes ahead and starts yelling at the dog because something happened. Rah, rah, you get on his ass. Well, no, they don't need that. It's not how you correct them.
Right.
You know, it just changes everything. So they become skittish. They can become, what do we call them?
Fear biters.
Fear biters, or they just get
Spooks.
spooks. You spook a dog quick.
Yeah.
With negative reinforcement. So,
Right.
now, sometimes it's necessary, but that's
Yeah.
a case-by-case scenario, and everything can be solved with the
So, and I love the way you put that. A correction, and I looked up a bunch of dictionary definitions before I came out here, but relating to dogs, I think Scott just nailed it. A correction is something that marks a behavior. A correction is designed to improve a behavior or something. Right, yes. Like a correction right now would be, no, please go.
That's why I have my dog no tail, so I don't hear that.
Oh, that beat back there. All right, buddy boy. Yes. So we're going to correct him. We're going to put him down on the ground, and then I'm going to mark the behavior of being on the ground is good, and Scott's going to join in the fray.
Okay.
And we're marking it
Easy.
as good by petting him and hoping he'll calm down, okay? But the way Scott described that is that's beautiful. You marking the behavior, because correction is a training term.
Mm-hmm.
Punishment is a behavioral term. What's the difference? Well, training means I want to teach him not to jump up on people. So I mark the behavior by the word no, because he's learned that the word no means, hey, you're doing something you shouldn't do. Don't have to punish him for it. Just have to explain that's not the right behavior. And then I come back with positive reinforcement. Me and Scott both make a fuss over it. Your dog's lagging on a heel. You need to correct him, but you don't want to punish him for it. So he's lagging on the heel. You can take a bait, stick it in front of him. You can just take off at a trot and let him run up beside you. And the minute he gets in the right position, you praise him, good boy. But the way he said it is even it's a constructive maneuver. Punishment, by definition, is meant to, by action, reform, rehabilitate, or halt a behavior.
So you're trying to get a dog to heal, and you punish him, you may not heal again.
Right.
You're negating the whole positive reinforcement that you're assessing with the marking the behaviors, and just actually just cutting it off.
Yep.
And since you're doing punishment, you don't want him to do it that way, then maybe he won't do it again.
Right.
I mean, it's the whole.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of psychological, but it's really not. It's just the way it is with dogs.
Yeah. Or with anything. So the way you described it is perfect. That's why I'm saying correction is a term that would be applied to training situations. What'd you do, Curly? You got yourself boxed in? Uh-oh. Punishment would be ascribed to behavioral situations. You come home and he's pooped in the floor. Don't rub his nose in it, please. I hate it when people say that. But now you're going to go up there, you're going to scruff him, you're going to kick him outside for a while. That's punishment. It's meant to halt a behavior.
Like, dog does something now it's not supposed to, scruff him, time out, in the crate. Don't say nothing else, don't say anything. Correct him,
Right.
show him,
Right.
put him in the crate, and drop it.
Yep.
You don't keep going with it. But that's correction. That's punishment.
That's punishment. Yep.
You want to mess up, you can sit in your crate for an hour or whatever. You can't be out here with us. So,
Right.
I mean,
If you want, Caroline, you want to let him out for a while and bring him back when we need a demo? What do you think?
What's that?
Oh.
you want to let him out until you do your demo?
Okay. I said, do you want to?
No.
Okay. If he's not bothering you, he ain't bothering us.
Okay.
So, before,
Okay.
before I said that, punishment, the way I like to explain a lot of ouch is you'll never learn nothing from ouch but avoidance. So if you're going to inflict an ouch on your dog for a certain behavior, it's because you don't want him to repeat that behavior. Period. So Scott mentioned the talking to the dogs. I don't know, Paulo, you ain't much of a guest, you know that?
You want to be the star of the show.
Yeah, stealing the show. Scott mentioned not raising his voice. If you're ever in Denmark and you get the chance, there's a guy named Thomas Ravn. I can't say it in the Danish pronunciation. Here in Texas, we call him Thomas Raven. He's probably one of the best military all-around dog trainers you've ever seen. And Thomas has got this theory about raising your voice that I love. And think about this. It's like, first off, dogs' hearing is 10 times better than ours. 10 times better than ours. That means when you can't hear me say something, the dog can be 10 times. If you can't hear me say something at 5 yards, the dog can be at 50 yards and still know I said it.
They do.
So this is one of Thomas's theories. Those of you who know me know that if you see our Denmark flag up here, that's part of the relationship with Thomas and the Danes. And here's one reason I enjoyed their company so much. He says it's like the barroom syndrome. When you're in a barroom, and jukeboxes, well, not jukeboxing or whatever, the DJ's playing, and you're in a booth, and there's 2 or 3 people on this side of you, and they're yelling stuff at you, and you're sitting there listening, and everybody's been over the booth table, and they're yeah. What'd you think about the game on Friday? Yeah, it was a great game, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, 2 tables over, somebody just says, Scott, is that you? And despite all that noise, and this person being 2 tables away, when he just says it in a conversational tone, you turn and look.
Mm-hmm.
because we have a special, I think you ought to kick him out for a while. We have a special connection to our name. So why on earth would you yell a dog's name when he's 3 feet away from you? Or why would you do the sit, good boy? You know, just talk to him in a conversational tone. Now, there's another aspect to these loud talking, and this is strictly my theory. It's just like, and a lot of stuff I do evolves from when I was working with horses a lot. We start colts with just a little mild bow saw, and later after they turn 2 or 3, we'll put what they call a snaffle bit in their mouth, you know, and then maybe we might go to another straight barred, a little harsher bit, but we want to work our horses with as mild a bit as we can for as long as we can, because they'll get toughened up and they, you know, they'll get to where if they want to, it doesn't even bother them. I believe the same thing occurs with volume. If you're walking around to your dog constantly wanting, here, down, stay, well, pretty soon if you're in a, well, maybe you just walk into a church for some reason with your dog, you know, and you can't holler down, you know, preacher gonna kick you out.
Right, because, you know, we talked about this a few weeks ago about the tones. We're talking about training with whistles, remember? Whistle never changes, tone never changes. So that tone will mean something. I mean, there's times to do that. More intense tones, like protection work, I'll see a lot of more intense. But a lot of people just balanced out.
Right.
I used to yell a lot in my first opening. I was all excited. Now I'm talking to Butch and Caroline over there. I don't.
That's true. I just realized that.
I don't yell. I can hear myself, but the dog can hear me too.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
All you do is say his name and give a command in a normal voice, and he'll hear you. You can be biting 20 feet away, all the action going on, decoy clatter sticking and everything else, and the dog will still hear you. And out.
That's right.
And recall. You don't got to yell.
So here's my little.
They got 18 muscles in their ears too.
Got what?
18 muscles in their ears, dogs do.
Yep. That's
Cats have 36.
That's good. That's another.
Say that louder so everybody can hear you on the microphone.
Dogs have 18 muscles in their ears, so they hear you perfectly fine. Just give them a reason to look at you.
Okay, now she is pointing on something. The last thing I'll bring out, and then we'll go to the silent killer. And we can do our own. I've never seen a study done on this. I don't know exactly how to do it. If you folks out there want to start putting yourself in a scientific study, get your little pad, write down the date and the time that you're doing this, and after you've done it for 80, 90 times, send me the results. And I'm serious. And what I'm talking about is getting your dog to follow a command from a distance. The old coon hunters that I grew up around would always tell you if a dog's looking at you when you tell him to do something, he'll always do it. So, raised with that foundation, I sort of have come to the conclusion that they're right. If a dog's looking at you when you give him that command, I'd say 8.5, maybe 9 times out of 10, even if there's a cat running that way, they'll follow the command.
Yep.
Dogs don't follow a command when they're not ignoring you. They don't hear you. They're so into whatever they're doing. And you got to remember the way their ears are. You know, let's say it's kind of cupped like this. And when they're looking at something down here, that ear is pointed forward, turned that way, or flapped down, and you're standing back behind them. This is the biggest complaint I hear: dog won't come when I call. Well, guess what? When you scream his name at the top of your lungs, your voice is coming bouncing off the back of his ears. In the first place, you are doing one thing that can cut down on his hearing ability. So the trick is, and this is what you can do to tell if your dog's ignoring you or disobeying your command, or if he didn't hear or understand the command. If you say his name and his ears flicker just for a second, and then you say the command and he doesn't do it, he just flipped you dew claw. Simple as that. That's if you got a dog with erect ears. Hound ears, I can't help you. You know, natural ears on mastiffs, I can't help you. But if you'll watch, what you're looking for is to see, is he disobeying or ignoring me, punishment time, or did he just not hear me say anything because he's so absorbed in whatever he's checking out. And that one thing alone will change the relationship with you and your dog. You start understanding more about him, and he'll get much more efficient about you. So, what do we think about the silent killer stuff?
Yeah. So, you were saying dog gets poisoned the night before, you think it's dying. Well, there's a disease out there that it's IMHA. So,
Have you ever had that
autoimmune.
experience yet?
No, but basically, if you don't know what that is, anemia. It's anemia. So basically, disease where the body's immune system destroys its own red blood cells, right?
Oh, you're going to anemia.
Right.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh, I'll be quiet then. Pull the brake, but it is very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's
it
just
is.
the whole body down.
And that actually, it can relate to what we're fixing to talk about.
Right. I read
So-
the wrong thing.
Okay. So if you experience this, or you know someone that has, they come home and they say, I came home from work at 5 o'clock and my dog was in the backyard dead. I think there's somebody poisoning dogs in our neighborhood.
Mm,
You know anybody that's ever had that experience?
yeah.
Most people that are into dogs, even if they haven't experienced it, they know someone who has.
I thought that, and the tests I've seen negative on poison.
Negative reports
Yeah.
every time.
But it was just, I thought it was what it was.
Yeah, you're sure, you're convinced. What else could it be?
There's
He's
nothing else.
perfectly healthy.
There's walkways behind.
Yeah,
People are jerks.
yeah. There's
You know,
something poisonous over there. They don't like my
something, yeah.
dog, whatever. He barks at them, that makes them. So, here's the silent killer. First off, if a dog's poisoned, believe me, you will have obvious signs. In the first place, it doesn't just happen that quick. And unfortunately, anything I speak to, if I talk about a dog poisoning, it's because I've experienced it. It's not because I read about it in a book or had someone tell me about it at a seminar. The two main forms of poisoning that get dogs are, the killer is antifreeze.
Mm-hmm.
There are some stupid people who will poison a dog with rat poisoning. Rat poisoning just slowly takes away the red blood cells, causes them to die from anemia.
Mm-hmm.
What Scott was just talking about. It's a long process where they get lethargic, they lay around, you get time to look at them, you go, what's wrong with my dog? He's been sleeping for 3 or 4 hours. So it's probably not going to kill your dog in 8 hours. It's probably going to take 20 hours. Dogs eating antifreeze is a horrible, horrible death. You will know it because they will be exploding everything out both ends, everything they've eaten, things they've thought about eating. They go through seizures, and it takes hours and hours. It is not pretty. But most of the people you'll hear saying, I think my dog was poisoned, they'll say he must have been because I went to work this morning. When I came home, he was dead. There's no signs of any throwing up. There's
Nothing.
nothing. Just a dead dog. So there's a condition called torsion. And this is something that's the most hideous thing that you can run across. It'll kill a dog anywhere from 6 to 10 hours dead. There will be no symptoms except for one sign that I will give you here in a little bit. There'll be no symptoms until the last couple of hours before the dog dies. Now what torsion is, because of the way we're going to let Mr. Apollo demonstrate this for us. First off, it doesn't happen in young pups.
No.
so don't worry about that. It has a lot to do with the structure of the dog. Bucking horses and bulls in the rodeo, the contractor would take them off water, depending on the contractor, 4 to 6 hours before they ever have to buck. Because torsion is a condition where you got a little bit of weight in the stomach. All of these animals we just mentioned have their stomachs suspended from their spine. And there's a little space. Think about a hammock hanging from a tree. There's a little space between the spine and the top of the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
They get a little bit of weight in there, not a lot, a little bit. Yep.
So basically torsion, in other words, a twisted stomach, right?
Yeah.
You're twisting it up.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
After they eat and whatnot.
Right.
So if there's anything inside the stomach, like a lot of water, food, it's like a pendulum.
Exactly. And then they make a big jump this way, and that pendulum goes and it flips over itself.
Yep, what happens?
Yep. Now, all blood flow has just been cut off back to the intestines, back to all their guts. Everything's getting no blood flow whatsoever. They're not getting any water, nothing. So they're slowly, I guess, bleeding themselves to death from their waist down. First let's look at the kind of dogs who get, who are more susceptible to torsion. Puppies just don't, it doesn't happen to a puppy. We need some physical things. Come here, Paulo, can you get this in camera, Carol Ann? Medium to large dogs, medium to large dogs are more susceptible to torsion. Paulo. So the bigger the dog, the more susceptible they are to torsion. And I've gone through at least 8 or 10 torsion cases. I finally, after losing 2 or 3 dogs, figured out how to discover the symptoms, okay? So what you're really looking for, come here, buddy. You have a lean dog like this. You take from the ribs back to the loin, or the loin area. The longer this area is, the more susceptible the dog is, the more room he has for his stomach to flip over. Okay? So take especially your show type German Shepherds with his really long body. Great Danes, Greyhound. Well, Greyhounds aren't that long through the loin.
Standard Poodles, Irish Setters, Wolfhounds, Dobermans, Akitas, Shepherds, Weimaraners, St. Bernards, Boxers. So these are your bigger breeds of dogs. Standard Poodles.
Oh yeah, I thought about them. So these are the ones that you really need to watch out. Now, what do you watch out for? First, here's the process. The stomach flips, all the blood supply is cut off back to the kidneys and everything else, right? Nothing goes through. They're slowly moving, and at this stage of the game, they don't even have a stomach ache because there's nothing wrong with their stomach. But as the day goes on, they'll get more tired and more tired, just like someone who's anemic, just like you would with rat poisoning, except it's much quicker.
Yeah.
Because you got no blood going further back past that stomach, none. So now as they get more tired, you're going to find them laying down. If they got bloat, which is a similar type condition, but not the same, they're going to get a stomach ache, and they're going to walk around tucked up like this.
Back all arched.
Yeah.
So you'd say broad-chested dogs.
That's the biggie, yeah. The bigger the chest, I'm glad yeah. So about 8 to 10 hours in is when it's critical. Your dog will all of a sudden just start laying down and just not be himself. You can go ahead and again, any of these incidences I mentioned to you are not things I read about, they're what I experienced. I went with one of my earliest torsion cases, way before I was even in the guard dog business, to a relatively new vet. And, you know, he's a great guy, and I really liked him, and I'd used him a lot. And he said, well, your dog, you know, he's acting like he's got something wrong with his gut, but I don't see any swelling. It's not like he's bloated. So that's not it. So here's some antibiotics. Go home. Call me. It was a Saturday. Call me on Monday. I didn't have to call him on Monday because my dog was dead the next morning. Because all the conditions, the slight lethargy, the failure to eat, and all this stuff could have been torsion, but since there was no swelling, it's not torsion. I mean bloat. It's not bloat because it was torsion. The stomach had flipped over, and he slowly died. After, as I dealt with more and more dogs, I found out the one symptom that you're going to see that's guaranteed to be torsion is at some point these dogs are going to get thirsty because they got no water going down through their system. They're not absorbing any of their water, right? You're going to see them walk over because they're still kind of peppy. They'll walk over, they'll drink and drink and drink, then they'll go about whatever they're going about. But if you watch, depending on the size of the dog, 10 to 14, 15 minutes later, all that water will come back up. And it won't even be thrown up because it's never gotten into the stomach. It'll just be clear water like it was when they drank it. An hour or two later, they'll get thirsty, they'll go drink again. 15 minutes later, clear water comes out again. At that stage of the game, you've got, depending again on the size of the dog, you've got 4 to 6 hours before your dog's dead. And at this point in time, he's starting, I'm assuming, because of the way they're acting, he's starting to really start to get painful and locking up in his gut. So if you have your dog, all right, so let's talk about prevention first. Biggest cause of this twisting, this torsion, is a little bit of weight in the stomach cavity. Not a lot, a little bit. If you free feed, leave food out all day for them to nibble on, not good. Because that dog's going to go out. A dog's digestive system is designed for him to gorge a big meal, think of a bison kill or something like that, and then eat the big meal, and then they crash, and they sleep, and while they're sleeping, everything digests, clears out of the stomach, goes to the rest of the intestines, and when they get up, they're safe. If they eat a little small meal, it's weighting the stomach down. Just it's like, think about the hammock. When you sit in the hammock, it comes down a little bit. You got a little more space above you, and if somebody pushes you real hard, you can go over. So free feeding is not good. Treats are, you're never going to get enough weight from treats to be a problem. So don't worry about that if you're training with treats. But if they nibble up and they eat half a cup of food from their nibbling, then they go outside and all of a sudden they look up and there's that squirrel. That can cause it. So I believe the biggest cause, and I've talked to people who had some torsion dogs die and asked them how they feed. And it's only been a couple of people, so it's not a fair, it's not like I did a study. But the 2 or 3 people I have run across that had a dog die from torsion, all free feed. Now, what do you do if you suspect torsion? What do you do if you see your dog drinking and throw up clear water? Get that sucker to your vet as quick as you possibly can. It's actually a relatively simple operation. I think today most vets are getting a lot of practice at. And when all they're going to do is they're going to cut them open, they're going to go in there, they're going to take the stomach, flip it back in the right place, and then they'll take the stomach itself, the top of it, and staple it to the spine. It can't flip over. So this operation is so simple, so successful, and such a guarantee of taking out one of the greatest causes of death you can ever have. If you've ever heard me talk about a dog named Osa, she was my partner for most of the years when I started my biggest guard dog company. And she was an English bred, England bred German Shepherd. I've got some pictures of her in here doing a bite, which looks like an alligator. You know, when I got Osa, because I'd lost 2 dogs to torsion, I just went down to my vet and I said, hey, Jody, tack her stomach to her spine. I'm not gonna take a chance. So, and I'm not suggesting everyone go down and get their dog's stomachs stapled, but regular meals, twice a day, once a day, however you're gonna do it. Big meal. Try to keep them in for at least 45 minutes. Make them rest. Then you can turn them loose.
Yeah, never walk immediately after eating.
Thank you. I didn't think about that.
And avoid stress. Stress dogs are more prone to bloat.
Oh yeah.
It's proven scientifically,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah.
Feed your dog, crate him or have him laid it. And after a while, they'll get into the habit of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
If
You
you,
can start them if you know you have a large breed. Start them when they're puppies.
Start.
Not like super little puppies, but 6 months old, 7, 8 months old. Have them relax. Have them go lay in their crate or something for 20, like you said, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Just make it longer each time.
and
Right.
just put their food, just get a bowl of food and put it in the feeding time. Put their food in their crates.
Yeah, it's even better.
Then after a while, you just come out with the food, and the dog goes to the crate, eats, and falls asleep.
Yeah,
I do that to the Dobermans.
Yep.
it's a good. Yeah, it's a great way to do
Yep.
it, folks. So,
That just, like I said, after a while, they know.
mhm.
They, routine, right? You get
Yeah,
into routine.
condition response, right?
I've never had one do that.
Yeah.
And Caroline was big on pushing that. I was like, man, I never. Now it's part of the family plan. It's part of the regiment, the dogs.
Yeah.
That's because Butch told me that story.
Yep.
Oh, I did.
Yes, you did. And
Thanks,
I was
Butch.
like, my dogs are going up.
Yep. So, and that's the one thing we do. I've seen some people ask some questions, but in fact, I think we'll do a little podcast on this. There's a in this country so big that the old story about the kids around the campfire and you whisper in the first kid's ear, Carol Ann's got a wart on the side of her nose,
Right.
Carol Ann knows a girl with a wart on the side of her nose.
By the time it gets around, the story's totally different.
Yeah, totally different. So that's kind of what happens in this country. You got a dog trainer in North Carolina, and he goes to a seminar from the world's greatest, whatever you call it, in Kansas City. And this guy throws out some term, and so the guy from North Carolina is talking to his buddy from California, and he says, well, what is a Cyclops-Pock? And the guy from North Carolina goes, well, I think it's a such and such so-and-so. And the guy from California says, must be a such and such or so-and-so. And he goes back to California, and he says, I learned all about a Cyclops-Pox while I was at this training deal, and his customer looked at him and said, well, what's a Cyclops-Pox? And the guy from California goes, well, what did the guy from North Carolina say? It's a such and such. It's a red thing that goes pop when you want to go poop. All our terminology is not written somewhere to be consistent. And being dog trainers, we don't want to embarrass ourselves by using a term we know we really don't understand, so we have a definition no matter what. And that goes for some of the most popular terms that we use in everyday dog training. So I think that's a pet peeve of mine. Maybe we can talk about that next week.
Right.
And in the meantime,
a few things you can do for bloat too. The big thing is, I'm not going to argue, feed on the floor, aside from raised bowls. Now, I feed in raised bowls on the floor, so whatever. That's proven, misproven. Slow up eating. Dogs that eat fast.
gulpers.
And you can puzzle feed them, the puzzle boxes to feed them. I'm talking extreme cases. I'm not going to make the dog do that, but if they eat and you put the bowl down, you turn around, and he's looking at you, you got a problem. Feed food. If you feed a good combination of wet, dry mix together is better than just dry food.
Oh, thank you.
And a dry breed with three meats in the main three proteins in there. And avoid cereal-based dog foods also, because what happens when you eat cereal? What happens in the stomach? Which
blows up like a hot air balloon.
Yep. So
Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah. You know, we could, as we start talking about this, they're saying we could go on for 2 hours on this.
yeah. So, but you know, I just wanted to get that out there, and it's,
Yeah.
it's all it all starts with feeding.
Yeah.
And don't let your dog drink. If your dog's outside, like over here, people come out and they want to give their dog a giant bowl of water, and it's
And
100
then-
degrees out. So you can't do that. Well, he's thirsty. Just give him some water, and that's it. Don't give him a whole 2-gallon of water.
Right.
Oh, he's a big dog. Well, you coming back out to work him again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then just take it
Not,
easy.
not on our yard.
Just quench his thirst. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then put him somewhere and let him rest.
Yep.
And
Anyway, that's just
yeah. Because I'm thinking about 14 other things
Yeah.
right now as we go through this, and we're probably getting
we're
we're
overdue.
getting into time here. So
But you know, just watch your dogs. You know.
I hope this is helpful to somebody.
Yeah.
Hope somebody someday calls me and says, "Hey, Butch, I saw my dog throwing up water and got him in my vet and saved his life." Because that's the reason we're doing this one.
Right. Because you know, basically, keep your dogs healthy, and if it can be prevented. Because you know, as they say, it's all about the dogs,
It's
man.
all about the dogs,
It's all
folks.
about the dogs. So we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in.